Today, folks, Canada wants you to be rich, and I'm tired of the BS propaganda that my friends spew that we're overtaxed in this country, that Trump pushes to us, saying Canada is way too taxed, become the 51st state. That is complete and utter BS. And I see clips on TikTok still circulating like this one that really incentivize the stupid to not get rich in the easiest country in the friggin' world to get rich in. And let me explain to you why. Take a listen.
Did you just say Canadian capital gains is 66%?
It's 66% now. They just passed that.
2/3. So if you make $100,000, your government takes $66,000.
Basically, yeah.
No, basically, no. You don't understand how an inclusion rate works. Basically, that bill never passed, so the inclusion rate didn't go above 50%. And actually, half the money you make on that capital gain is tax-free. The other half, the 50%, goes into the inclusion rate of what you pay tax on. You don't pay a 50% tax rate. You pay tax on the 50%, not the other half. I'll break this down more thoroughly, but just listen. Yeah. My God.
I can't breathe.
I wouldn't either.
I can't either. So that's the problem is there's no point really selling them if we're not going to gain a lot of money back. But
no, it's kind of like you're giving it all to the government. It's a disincentive to sell. Cue the make fun of Canada jokes. Okay, but
how about no, you clowns? And I'm surprised Dave Ramsey isn't more educated. It's funny how Canadians are so aware of like the U.S. tax system and the 401ks and Roth IRAs. And if you just woke up to the reality, Canada has far superior tax advantages. And I want to break this down for you real briefly. And I feel real bad for this guy because he's making delusional financial decisions without talking to an actual accountant. But let's just start in Ontario, where I live, which is one of the highest taxed, most expensive provinces in Canada, where my friends are like, oh, they take half your income between taxes on the things I buy and my salary. Let me show you how to take advantage of the tax system here with this calculator. It's really fun to play with. But let's say you have employment income. Basically, the salaried employee subsidizes the entire country, not the rich. You need to become part of the investor class, and this is why. So firstly, if you make $60,000, let's say, you're only going to be taxed about $13,411 and $4,358, or basically almost a third of that, is just going toward your Canadian pension plan, CPP, which is basically the government saying, hey, like, we don't want you to get to 60 and not have some form of income or a retirement. So if you're working in this country, we're going to take a bit of your salary to support you in retirement, because a lot of people are too dumb to do this for themselves. So thank you, government, because you've done a wonderful job managing the Canadian pension plan, and you've actually outperformed the S&P in many years, and you own incredible assets, well diversified. You should check out how they manage that. It's a very cool educational thing because people shit on it a lot. I think it's worth like $700 billion or something. But let's just kind of take this a bit further with the capital gains. How much would you actually pay on capital gains? Basically, as of after June 25th, 2024, when, you know, the recent updates and the tax codes and stuff. But let's say you made $100,000 in capital gains. So if you put, you know, 100 grand in some stock or the S&P and it doubled, so you made 100 grand on top of your 100K, you sell it, how much are you gonna have to pay on that extra 100K? Well, turns out the taxes that you're gonna have to pay is gonna be $7,643, a hell of a lot less than the guy making 60K in his salary would pay. This is why it is so prevalent to be investing and get part of the investor class. That seems pretty insane, doesn't it? I mean, it's kind of mind-boggling, really. But this is like not even the start. Like, let's just talk about dividend income. Like, there's something called qualified dividends in Canada, which just basically means if there's a company that makes 50% of its income in this country, it becomes what is called an eligible dividend. And let's say you were making, let's say the same amount, $60,000 in eligible dividends versus a salary. You would only pay $750 in tax. Let me say that again. You would only pay $750 in tax. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't recommend just being like, oh, I only want to make that kind of money then. It's great to build up to be like a millionaire and making some dividend income and utilizing it as part of your other income that you produce, because you still want to contribute to CPP and take full advantage of the tax system. And I truly believe in paying taxes and supporting the system. I'm not trying to like tell you how to weasel your way out of it, but just to take advantage of what's there. So how can we take this even a bit farther? Because a lot of people would say, okay, well, that 60K in income on that salary isn't actually the full tax, because when I buy things, I'm paying HST. When I buy things, I'm paying like GST and other tax, which actually eats away a lot more of this. Okay, so how do we, you know, balance it out and not pay as much tax on the things we're buying? Well, we're going to do what is basically called a sole proprietor, or you could start a corporation, but most people should just become sole proprietors. It's easier, it's cheaper, and that just basically means I'm going to start a side hustle, dog walking, social media influencer. You'd have to be a moron not to think that you can't just start a business today with everything that is just sitting on your desk. If you're playing video games, I'm going to start making TikToks or start recording it in live stream. It takes 2 seconds to do so. And now all of a sudden, okay, well, I have a job, I'm making a salary, but I'm also, get this, a sole proprietor, which means when I buy certain things that I need for my business, I can actually write it off against my income and not pay any of this tax right here. So let's say I need a phone to run my streaming business. Let's say I need lunch, like I have to eat during these hours. Okay, so now I can start writing off some of my food. Oh, I'm living in my house and I'm using internet for this. Oh, I can start writing off the internet. What does write-off mean? It just means, hey, corporations make money, they spend money, and they pay tax on what is left. So you can actually waive a lot of this tax you pay to the government. Mind-blowing, right? And let's just talk about, we haven't even gotten into like the tax advantaged accounts yet. Are you utilizing your RSP? Let's say of some of this money, you're able to save maybe an extra $10,000. You're able to, I know this is stretching it, but let's say you can live on $40,000 and you're able to save $6,559. If you're able to put some of that into your RSP, which every year a part of your salary, I think it's 13% or something. I have to look up the exact numbers you can put toward your RSP. So let's just say we're even able to put $10,000 of that into your RSP. Well, you just saved over almost $3,000 in taxes, guys. So now if you put some of that money into your RSP, the Registered Retirement Savings Plan is just basically a tax sheltered account that where if you put money into it, whatever the government allows you to put in it, they'll say, hey, we're going to defer the taxes on that till when you pull it out. So you don't have to pay any tax. You can put it in there and invest it, make basically capital gains and dividends tax free for as long as it's in that sheltered account. And guess what? Whenever you pull that money out, it's just taxed at your regular tax bracket rate. Another beautiful account. We haven't even talked about the TFSA yet, which is probably the most beautiful account in this country where you can make tax-free income in perpetuity for the rest of your life. Because basically the government says you already pay tax on some of this money. So if you're a Canadian and you want to save it and invest for your future, utilize this TFSA, this umbrella that allows you to buy US, Canadian, global assets, collect juicy dividends, capital gains without paying any tax whatsoever, and pull it out whenever you want to spend it without it actually affecting your tax bracket here, folks. Oh my God. I mean, you know how crazy that is? You can't do that in the States. A Roth IRA, 401k, they actually penalize you for pulling it out before retirement. But in Canada, you can pull money out of your RSP and TFSA whenever you want and not get penalized. And in your RSP, you only pay your basic income tax rate. Welcome to Canada, the country that wants you to be rich. And have I even told you that if you live in Canada and you sell digital products to the United States and you bring US dollars over here, you don't have to pay any HST on it if you're living in Ontario, but you actually get more tax deductions for making US income. The government actually wants you making money abroad, because if you bring it into this country, the government's like, oh, good for you, stimulating our economy with other people's money. I mean, there are so many crazy things people are just not aware of, and why it is so damn prevalent to become part of the investing class. Like, let's even just take a look at ineligible dividends. Let's say you're buying like a US stock. I think this is a bad example because the US is introducing or trying to introduce new tax laws, which I'll talk about in another video. But even if the dividend isn't eligible and you made $50,000, I mean, how much realistically would you pay? So yeah, I mean, no, we got to calculate, get rid of the salary here. One sec. Let's get rid of the employment income. You'd still pay $600 on 50K of even ineligible, or that's eligible dividends. Sorry, we want ineligible. Sorry, I'm messing this up a little bit. Let's take a quick look here, shall we? Yeah, you'd pay $2,575. I mean, even still, like, it's crazy how basically the salaried employee in this country basically subsidizes the rich. On 60K, you're only paying $4,600, which is crazy. It's just crazy to me that this exists and people just don't take 5 minutes to educate themselves on it. And then they go on shows like Dave Ramsey and convince the entire United States the propaganda that Trump feeds the absolute degenerate morons out there that somehow we are worse off. Yet we still have, like, you know, healthcare at any income bracket. We're so progressive on a lot of our social issues compared to the United States. Like, we have gun rights and we have all this other stuff. But the only thing that I care most about is Canada is the easiest country in the world to get rich in, and you just don't even realize it. I'm going to leave it there. I'll pass the question off to you. I'd love to know how you're taking advantage of our tax system legally, of course, in that comment section below.